Are we keeping that sound in? Yes. We're keeping that dragging sound in. I can't remember the song, but there's a Beatles song that when I had the radio gig, you have the headphones on and you listen to things very closely. At the end of the song, there's a chair squeaks. And something that happened during the recording. I don't remember what song it was. In any case, let's leave it in. Let's leave the squeak in. This is No Laugh Track Podcast, episode 467. Yes, that is right. We're here at Acme Comedy Company in Minneapolis. I'm Justin Severson, the guy who gets to host this each week. Today, I don't need to say the date because you can listen to this anytime, but I will say it's the exact same date that I talked to this person last year. Myq Kaplan and I were on this stage the exact same day last year, Mike. How is that possible?
I'll tell you how. Because I realized. So I was here last night for my beginning of this run this weekend, and I got yesterday morning. I looked at my Facebook memories, and it was like a post like, "Hey, today through the weekend, I'm at Acme." And I was like, "How could?" Because usually every year it's a slightly different day, but. Because last year it was a weekend that started Wednesday through Saturday. This year it's only Thursday through Saturday, so it moved along. Next year, just Friday and Saturday.
Don't do that.
The following year. Here's what we'll do. No, I'm sorry.
No.
What's gonna happen next year is we're gonna go Friday through the following Saturday. So it used to just be Tuesday through Saturday. It was more shows than almost any other comedy club that I'd ever. I don't think I've never performed. Vegas once. I was there for 7 days straight. Vegas is a completely different beast than everywhere else, and a different. This is the kind of beast. This is the beast of quality here. Vegas might be the beast of quantity, but this is the beast of quality and quantity historically. But yeah, when my very first time here was 2010, right after I did Last Comic Standing, my very last night on the show, the final episode was Monday, and I flew here on Tuesday and performed Tuesday through Saturday. Many, if not all, the shows sold out thanks to my brand new possibility for people to know who I was from just having seen me on that show. And so yeah, Tuesday through Saturday, that's what it was almost every time. Then just in the past couple of years, obviously due to reasons beyond almost anybody's control, went to Wednesday.
We know who to blame.
Yay!
Between you and me, we know who to blame.
Absolutely. And I'm excited. I'm excited to announce, you've heard it here first, that finally I will be next year returning to Acme for an 8-day week. Speaking of the Beatles leaving things in, I'll be here 8 days a week from Friday through. Oh, actually, I'm sorry, it'll be 9 days. We're gonna go bigger than the Beatles, a bigger week than the Beatles. 9 days a week from Friday to the following Saturday. You heard it here first, and this is legally binding.
Oh yeah, everyone knows that.
Contractually, whatever said on a podcast is law.
Yep, and truth and law.
You know that old the song of how a bill becomes a law, and the new version is we have a little dancing bill. He's like, well, you go on a podcast and you say it, and that's it. A very short song.
I'm still just a bill. That is right.
Also, quick thing on the subject of recording songs and other such. I don't know. Do you listen to Alan Watts much?
I don't.
Alan Watts, a spiritual teacher, speaker, writer, love him. I've been listening on the Waking Up app, the meditation app. There are now more than 100 hours of Alan Watts talks. You can also get them on YouTube and just search for Alan Watts, read him, listen to him. His voice is really nice. He made this point that he's like, when you're recording, in optimal circumstances, recording an album, you have soundproofing, you have a self-contained area to keep the noise of the world out. You don't want horns honking, you don't want animal sounds, you don't want, the sounds of the hubbub of the city. He's like, so they get a perfectly clear, pristine recording, and then people listen to it in their home with the windows open, with the noises of the world. They're like, perfect. Like you're not listening to it in a soundproof, in a float tank.
No. In your car with the windows down.
Yeah, like your own chair squeaks. And you're like, was that the Beatles?
Oh, that's fantastic.
Right.
Wait, is this on the free version, or am I gonna have to pay to get all that?
Great question. Great question. I can definitely send to you, Justin, at least a free, I feel like, some chunk of time's worth, and you can try it out for yourself. And then I actually think I paid like a lifetime. I have it now free for a lifetime because I paid some large amount of money. But also, if you tell them that you have no money, they will give it to you for free.
Oh, I like those kind of companies.
It's really nice. I feel like Maria Bamford is a company like that as well. I see her posts all the time. That's like, come see me. It costs money. If you don't have money, let me know.
Yeah, don't let that stop you.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's beautiful.
Mm-hmm. That is absolutely beautiful. Well, it is great to have you back in Minneapolis a year from the last time we talked, to say the least. And more strange coincidences there. Both years, the week prior, Jackie Cation's week here at Acme.
That is some weird, wacky stuff.
Yep, but if you go the other way, it ends. There's
Okay.
No synergy whatsoever.
Fair enough. But I mean, also, we don't know. Who knows what's going to happen next week?
True.
You know?
True.
Could be an exact replica of last year. As far as we know, the schedule, like we've seen what happened to schedules. You know, like since the pandemic began, like nobody knew that I mean, probably some people knew, and they were like, "Hey, we should do something about it." And like, quiet, you. But it was such a weird experience to be like I want to go back to the past where I knew what the future was going to be, but it was an illusion. The idea that we would know what the future was. So I hardly know what's happening right now.
We'll play it back for you. It'll help.
Thank
later
you.
on, we'll play it back.
Yeah, play it into my ears right now as we speak, like Synecdoche, New York. I don't know if that's a movie that you've seen, but it's
No.
But it's a very good reference. What I just said makes a lot of sense.
Everyone got it but me.
Thank you.
I apologize, everyone. I apologize. Now, before we started recording, you told me you wanted to talk about Will Smith finally apologizing to Chris Rock.
Of course I did. Yes, and I have my improv training. I don't know why I brought that up. Of course, we did have that conversation. Here's a really funny thing. I'm here. I don't mean to call my shot. Let me backtrack and say here's a thing. I don't even know if there's gonna be a thing. I'm gonna keep talking. So, a few days ago, I was in Kansas City. And I started performing. I think I only first performed there about a year ago, and I love going there. My girlfriend's family lives there. Her mom and younger siblings are there. And does that sound like it's my girlfriend's mom and my girlfriend's younger siblings? Because that's what I'm trying to say. Because it's her mom and her mom's kids. But when other day I said it's my girlfriend's mom and her kids, I was like, oh, is it my girlfriend doesn't have kids? But
I was picturing siblings of
that's great.
hers.
Okay, so there's these 8 to 16 years old, 5 children, and a mother who's older than that. And maybe she's the exact same age. Okay, so she's as old as her children. And so we've visited Kansas City a number of times. And there's the comedian who hosted for me the first time I was there a year ago. His name is Evan Christian Golt. He is funny. He is kind. He has helped me set up a number of shows other times that I've been back there, including he had an open mic earlier this week that I did a feature-length spot on, and I did a lot of material that I was preparing for my week here, where I am recording for a new album. And during my set, there was a moment where I had a joke that I have since looked up and seen that there are other versions of this joke, but I wrote it years ago, and then I saw, there's like a New Yorker cartoon version of it. You're familiar with Easter Island, the island, with all the big heads on it?
Yeah.
And so the joke that I said was something like, I'd like to go there and put a bunch of yarmulkes on them, call it Passover Island, and then also, put some beards on it. Very funny. I'm good. And you understand. But so
You're reading my inner monologue again, Mike.
So as I was before I got into the joke, I just wanted to make sure the handful of people that were there at this show, I was like, I said the same thing that I said to you. I was like, Easter Island, is everyone familiar, generally speaking? And I was like, if anybody's not, please let me know. I want to explain because I want everyone to appreciate the joke. And the one person who raised her hand to indicate that she had not heard of Easter Island in the context that I had provided was my girlfriend. And I was like, wow, we've been together 6 years. And I started in real time, I was like, this is fascinating. It's not urgent that everyone's not heard of everything. My girlfriend also grew up homeschooled for much of her childhood. So there are certain gaps in, just trivia, that we learn certain things like, what do you know about the Magna Carta? Well, 1215. What else? That was just the time that they signed it, I guess, like right after lunch or whatever it was. And yeah, it's like we want to get to, maybe it was right before lunch, and they were like, let's just do this real fast, slapdash. But so anyway, the point is, now she knows, and we were fine. The comedian who went on right after me, the feature set I did was like in the middle of the open mic. Comedian went on next and said, oh, look at this, 6 years together, and Myq finally learning that his girlfriend is blonde. And we're like, oh, well, that's a not necessarily. I mean, it's sort of an old-fashioned trope. First,
Yeah.
the
Wow,
idea-
did that just bring me back to, holy cow, a blonde
Yeah,
joke.
it-
Wow. Okay,
it's,
yeah.
it's like, wow, like dusting off, like, wow, in the wild. We're like, isn't that? But in the moment,
Yeah.
we were kind of, sitting and being like, oh, this is a strange. And, I'm not saying that, like, I am so, like, I feel like all human beings ought be respected. And, like, I understand, like, sometimes at comedy shows, there are jokes at people's expenses. And if it was at mine, that would have been one thing. At my girlfriend's, it was another thing. Afterwards, we talked about it a lot. And her ultimate conclusion, and here's the thing, is like the idea that a blonde person, like blonde people aren't dumber than not blonde people. Like it's a foolish, like as many stereotypes are, it doesn't really make sense. Like there's dumb people of all color hairs, whatever you wish. But so she was like, I wish in the moment I had just said, wow, because we're like, wow, like to let, after the show, he came up to me, he was like, hey, I enjoyed your set. And I said, hey, I enjoyed everything you said except for one. And he apologized, essentially. And my girlfriend said, thank you for the apology. And the thing later when we were talking about it and sort of going through it and processing it, and it's not the meanest thing anyone's ever said, it's not the worst thing, but we were like, it made us feel a way that we wanted to think about and talk about. And she made this point, which is why I'm bringing it up now. She was like, it would have been really funny if I was like, go get him. And like, because he's talking about my hair. Like I should have gone up and be like, hey, sometimes when someone on stage talks about a person in the audience's female partner's hair, they get slapped. And I was like, that was it. You're talking, hey, get my girlfriend's hair out of your mouth. I mean, we'll put it there. Your girlfriend's fine. Get my girlfriend's hair out of your mouth because, hey, stop sucking on my girlfriend's hair. That's not what this is about at all. But I was like, Rini, my girlfriend's name is Rini. Yeah. I was like, Rini, we were just in the car together on the way home. Like, that's hilarious. That's so funny. That's so smart. If anyone is blonde, it was that dark-haired man. And he wasn't either. Nobody's blonde ever. I'm here to say that it's not a real color. It's not even a color. Like brown, that's a color.
Right.
Black, that's a color. Where did blonde? That's fine too. But yeah, so I understand that Will Smith now, they say that comedy is tragedy plus time, and I guess apology is tragedy plus time as well. So
3 months time.
Yeah. But yeah, it's
wow. Who knew that was going to lead to that story? That's amazing.
Thank you so much.
I mean, I'm curious. I would love to pull that guy aside and ask him if he knows how close he was to getting his ass kicked.
If he knows how close he was to me making a joke about slapping him, which I think is the wrong thing to do, to be violent, and even to joke about. Even now, I'm a little uncomfortable and would like this all to be edited. I'd like to slap I'd like to pinch myself, make sure I'm not. Am I dreaming? Hope I'm dreaming. Yeah, that guy was really close from me. If he was a little smaller and I was a little more violent.
Oh my goodness, that's so funny. Oh, that was great, Myq. The big thing that everyone's talking about today is the lottery is hit over $1 billion to win the Mega Millions. Do you ever gamble?
When I turned whatever age it is 21, 18, whatever age it
Depends
is
where you are, I guess.
that I could buy a lottery ticket. I think it was 18 because I think I was in high school. And it was like we had senior cut day, which is a weird thing. There's like, oh, yeah, this is the day that we all agree we don't go to school. And the
organized ditching.
Yeah, the administrators are like, that's not allowed. And we're like, well, we're doing it. And I remember I wasn't yet 18, but my girlfriend at the time was, and I was like, buy me lottery tickets. And I don't know what, and so now I don't remember the last time that I bought a lottery ticket, but it was definitely back before the pandemic, because during the pandemic is when I started engaging in marijuana edibles more. And the joke that I used to tell is that every once in a while I would try pot and try a lottery ticket to make sure that it still didn't work. Like, just to make sure that I was still not lucky. You know what I mean? Like, every once in a while, I'd buy a scratch-off ticket. I wouldn't win. The end. Every once in a while, I would try pot. It would make me feel awful. The end. You know? And so, yeah, I feel like, I mean, it's a little different than, like, a casino. Like, I grew up, my grandmother taught me how to play blackjack at a very young age. She would go into casinos very sensibly. Like, she would go, let's say, once a month, have a good time. She played blackjack. If she won, then she would go back, you know, the following whatever time unit. If she lost, she would stay away for longer. She basically had sort of like budgeted, like, this much money is for the fun that I get out of doing it. For me, like, I went when I turned 21. I was in college in Boston. I went to Foxwoods, which was maybe an hour or two away. All my friends, we went, and I was like, I'll just if I lose $200, I'll stop. So I only brought $200, but I also brought an ATM card, and so I lost more than $200. but I was like, I'm gonna get them back at the buffet. You know, that classic thing.
Classic.
And so I got comped into the buffet. I ate until I was very, very sick feeling. I threw up. This wasn't my plan, but then I was like, well, I guess I can eat more now because there's now more room, and I don't recommend any of this.
No.
But here's the thing about, like, gambling money. Like, I don't love the stock market. I don't love casinos. I love the one time that I was in Vegas for only 7 days, not the 9-day week that I'll be here next year. That I remember on one day I like just got a monorail, like, all day pass, and just went into all the casinos just to, like,
That's
look
so
at
fun.
them. They're like art. You know?
I love
It's
doing
like
that.
beautiful architecture, really, really cool looking stuff. Like, that's a valuable use of time. But the idea to spend time, like spend time and money to hopefully win money, but definitely lose time. Like, there's no, absolutely, you're not going to, like, you know, you see a movie that you don't like, you're like, no, that's 2 hours I'm not getting back. You're never getting and you're probably not getting your money back either. But so lottery tickets are not my thing. But now that it's $1 billion, you say, like, that changes everything. Wow, it's, you know,
I'm fascinated by the people that, like, well, not, like you're just saying, like, well, not, I mean, 25 million, what am I going to do with that? Pay off my Visa, then what? I'm still struggling.
I learned about it from my girlfriend's mom, who was like, so it's over $1 billion now. So if you take it in a lump sum, that you get about half. So you get about 500 million. Then, of course, taxes take away half of that. So you've got like 250 million. That's pretty good. What would you do with it? And we're like, pretty much just have one more room in our house. I don't know. But yeah, it's fun every once in a while to imagine, to fantasize, but yeah, I mean, it is really fascinating to, like, I feel like it would just be good if everyone had enough, you know. That's
kidding.
That would be, how many people, there's 300 million people in the United States. So if we did the lump sum thing, somebody paid the taxes, that's like everyone gets almost $1.
Let's all pitch in.
I have felt like it would
I'll agree to share.
Yeah, I mean, every week, if here's the thing, depending, you get a group of people, you know, it's like a fun thing to do is let's say you have 10 friends, you know, you all go out to dinner, like, if one person can afford it, and they're like, I got it, everyone, it's on me. I'm like, wow, that's so nice. Every week, a different person, or maybe every week a different person doesn't have to pay. Just 9 people pay for 10 people. That's nice. Isn't that, and that seems like a nice way to do society also, because the lottery does really seem to be a tax on the poor, just in general. Like, and what,
Yeah.
I wonder what's the richest person who plays the lottery?
That's a great question. I will say that I know some of the richest people that I've met, I know do play the lottery. So
Well then.
they do.
And what do they make? Like a couple $100 a year? So it's, the
You're
richest
close.
people that
You're
know.
close. You're close. They make that by noon each day.
There's
Yeah.
a comedian that was in Boston, I think, since the 80s. And when I started out, he was one of the elders
Sure.
of the scene. And his name was Rich Gustis. and he had so many very, very funny jokes. And one of them was, I'm paraphrasing, but it was something like, he's like, I don't really know, like, I've never had a lot of money. I don't really know what things cost, you know? So, like, a friend of mine's like, I'm buying a house. I'm like, a house? Wow, that's going to set you back, like, hundreds of dollars. So I feel like I'm living in, that was manifesting in this conversation within me as well.
I gotta tell you this. I'm married second time right now. I'm in my second marriage.
Double congratulations.
Yeah, that's what I was searching for. Next topic. And during my first marriage, I remember I worked on a radio show. We would get these phone calls. My job back then was to answer the phones. And I remember it was like this would come up every now and then when the lottery got super huge. And I remember this woman would call in all the time. And I told her once, she's like, "Are you going to buy a lottery ticket?" I said, "No, because if I won that much money, it would ruin my marriage. Because it's too much to handle." Well, I got divorced anyway. So why?
But you would have gotten divorced even more.
It would just have been harder to split things, I guess, right?
Yeah, you know, when I got divorced, I got married when I was 25 and divorced when I was 28. And what is the thing? Oh, yeah. We didn't have tons of money, and that was good. That was like, we had, I think, when we got into the marriage, we each had a car, and I think she got rid of her car, and so we just had one car, and we had only one computer, and so that was the only thing that I think the good thing, the way that it worked out was, I think her parents had an extra car and gave her a car. I kept my car. My dad had an extra computer. She kept our computer. I got a new computer. And we're like, okay. And we split the minimal money that we had in our bank account. And it was like, I feel like getting lawyers would have made us be like, well, that's even easier to split because we'll just split. We'll give it all to the lawyer and then we'll each take zero. Yeah.
There were no pets you had to take care of at that time?
We did not have. No, it was
because that can get sloppy.
Yeah, I was a resident assistant at Boston University at the time. We were both living in my on-campus apartment that came with my job. So it was like, I'll keep living here because it's my job, and you'll stop living here because it's not yours. And it really worked out.
No,
good luck, everyone, on that lottery.
Oh, that's fantastic. Last night on stage, you had notes.
Yes.
And at one point, you said, "I'm 45 minutes into this, and I'm on the second page."
Yes. And
what's going on, Myq?
I try to talk as fast as I can, but so here's the thing is, in the year 2017, I recorded an album in 2016. I recorded an album here in 2019. In 2017, I recorded an album in Boston that I called it Live in Between Albums because it was. The album I made in 2016 was called No Kidding, and it was full of jokes about my not wanting children. The album I recorded here in 2019 was called AKA, which is short for All Killing Aside, jokes about not murdering mainly, kindness and love, and yeah. I mean, I don't mean to take such a controversial position, but I'm against murder, and.
We're gonna have to end this here.
So here's the thing: is in my now 20-ish years of doing comedy, I like creating, a themed show.
Yeah.
That isn't necessarily a narrative, but that things all cohere and fit together. And I also write lots of jokes that don't end up going with the various themes. And so I had in 2017, I was like, I have an hour of jokes. It seems like that don't go with anything that might never fit into a specific theme, but I'm like, they're funny jokes. I've finished writing them essentially, and I'd like to share them with the world. And so I recorded it. And the record label that I work with now is Blonde Medicine. Dominic Del Benny is a good friend, and so and they produced AKA as well, and a bunch of check out all the comedians that they produce. They work with a ton of super funny, super nice people, and they're super funny and super nice. And so he helped me take the album that I'd recorded essentially on my own and release it it went to Sirius just to play on essentially Laugh USA. So it's an album that does not exist currently in the world for people other than we were like, oh, let's put it there because put her there, pal. And it's essentially, one of the ways that you may know this, that comedians can make, like, if you have stuff playing on YouTube, if you monetize it, you probably get a couple cents for every couple thousand plays. If you have millions of spins, you get thousands of dollars potentially, but it's you need millions of spins.
Yep.
Sirius Radio, satellite radio, is one of the only sources that is like a better deal. So yeah, you get more than you get on Pandora or Spotify or any of the other sort of streaming platforms.
That's interesting because I played really hard. I played hardball when I just had to re-up my subscription to SiriusXM, and I did the old I'm done, walking away, I'm done. I said it 6 times probably, and then I got it down to the price I wanted. And they're still willing, and I guess so. Even with my haggling, you're still getting a bigger cut than other places. So
yes,
good on them.
Yeah, I mean, I just hope that don't haggle too much with Spotify, or it's going to go down to like half a cent per 1,000 spins. But the point is, I made this comedy album in 2017 that was completely clean as well, and so that's why like Laugh USA is a clean channel.
Oh yeah.
And so I was like, over the past 5 years, I have, and since before that as well, I've just like looked through my records and I've amassed even more jokes. The answer to your question, and so the point is, I'm making a new. My aim is to make a new album in that same vein,
okay.
Jokes that like I have another themed show that's like done to be my next special that I haven't recorded yet, but I plan to. And then I have other themes planned for after that. And then I still have all of these jokes that don't specifically go, they don't go with anything. They're just like fun.
Yeah.
It's just fun. Like my girlfriend was saying, like, she and I have been like working together on one of the shows because it's about us and our relationship, and she contributes to it and like helps me, shape it. And she was saying, like, when she's been seeing me work on the material for this weekend and doing the show last night, it's like, it's just like no motivation other like I'm not that there's no judgment either way on trying to say something versus not trying to say something. My goal is to always be as funny as possible, whether it's funny as possible fitting in a theme or funny as possible like themeless.
Yes.
My comedy is themeless. Yeah, if you come see me this weekend, it's themeless, everyone.
Let's see a themeless transition, please.
Thank that, man. That might be the name of this album, Themeless Transitions. And that's there it is. It might be it. But yeah, so the point is, I had this issue as well. Actually, I have this issue a lot of times right before I come here. In 2012, I recorded my first album here, my second album total, my first one that I did here, called Meat Robot. And
good.
I remember, thank you so much. I think I was here maybe in like September of 2012, and I remember in August, a friend of mine was doing a theater run, a theater show, a presentation in New York in a theater, and she was like, our show like ends at 9, and then we have the theater till midnight if you want to do like comedy shows afterwards for a couple nights. And I was like, that would be really helpful to have as much time as I need to go through the act that I want to figure out. I didn't know, since I'd recorded my first album in 2009, I truly didn't know how many jokes I'd written or how much time they would take up.
Yeah.
And so I wrote them all down. I came up with a list, and I was like, I'm going to go on stage these 2 nights and just see, do I have an hour? Is it 45 minutes? Is it an hour and a half? And like the first night, I got through half of the material, and it took me an hour and 20 minutes. And then I did the second half the next night, and I was like riffing some, and it was a little loose. But then when I came here to record, I think I did 4 shows, and I recorded the early shows 50 minutes each and the late shows 70 minutes each, and I came up with about 90 minutes of stuff that I eventually edited it down to a 45-minute album, and then the other half became part of the next special, Small, Dork, and Handsome. And so similarly, coming into this weekend, I truly didn't know if I only had a half hour of stuff that would become the album, or if I had a full hour, or if it does seem like this could be like a 2-hour album if I do everything.
Yeah.
And then I also I riff with the audience. Like I have fun that comes up in the moment, which is like, it could just be like none of the jokes. It could just be all of the in-betweens,
Yes.
you know? I just remembered another joke that I didn't tell last night. There's so many. Maybe it'll just be called too many, like, not, you know, the over, you know, like the theme. Okay, there we are. This is going to be on the album as well, so I'm going to need this. I'm going to need this file. This is behind the themes. Yeah.
Yes, behind the themes. I love it.
But yeah, so that's to answer your question, your kind question that in the form of a rude question, like what's happening, Myq? But yeah, I did truly. I brought 7 pages full of jokes on stage last night, and I was like, just to reference every once in a while to be like, have I gotten through all of the jokes that I have about food or about movies? I didn't even get to movies last night.
No.
So tonight, movies. But it's just, and I feel like it's also a credit to the audiences here at Acme, because if I were doing this in front of a different audience in a different place, I might have gotten through all the pages too soon.
Sure. Yeah. Well, someone who witnessed the set last night, great. I mean, you did mix in some great crowd stuff. A guy named Bo, B.O., fantastic stuff.
Thank you so much.
Fantastic.
Sitting not far from where we are right now.
Yeah, look at that. You didn't walk up with the cane today. You're feeling good, huh?
Yeah. So a funny thing. So I pulled. I tore a muscle on June 19th, and I'm sorry to mark us in time, but we are recording this in July.
Yes.
It's available. It's not a secret, and it is still. My leg is still not fully healed, but I am able to walk short distances. And I brought the cane on stage with me last night, in part because it is nicer to have it sometimes, and in part because I did write several jokes about the cane.
Right.
And I didn't want to be like, so everyone, I have this cane, and let me describe it to you. I'm a prop comedian now. I'm a metaphorical prop comedian. I just describe the props. This reminds me, years ago, a buddy of mine, Daniel LaBelle, another wonderful, funny comedian, he and I pitched a book. It didn't become a book, but I think it's a great idea, and we came up with a lot of fun stuff for it. You've heard of like conversation pieces, right? Like, you have something in your house, it's on the wall. She's like, oh, what's that? Look at that. Oh, it starts a conversation. I remember, I think I was doing one of my first podcasts. My first podcast was called Hang Out With Me. I had Daniel LaBelle and a guy named Dan Hershon, another funny former comedian, now animator and many other art creating guy. That's the way he likes to be identified.
I'm sure that's on his card.
He makes many other art creating guy. Dan, super funny, super wonderful, sketch comedy, video editing, animation, all kinds of stuff. And so I remember Dan and Daniel were both on the podcast, and we were recording in my, at the time, producer's apartment, and he had like a guitar on the wall. And we learned in the course of, before the podcast started, like, oh, he doesn't even play the guitar. He says, yeah, it's just a conversation piece. And then Daniel LaBelle was like, why do you even... if you want to talk about, you could just talk about a guitar. You don't have to have a guitar on the wall to talk about a guitar. And then Dan Hershon made the point. He's like, yeah, but without it there, like, then why? How would you know what to talk about? Like, you wouldn't just come in. He's like, he talked about his anxiety of like, he's like, I think it's helpful to have the thing. And then Daniel and I were like, well, you don't even need the thing. We're like, so our book idea was to have a book of conversation pieces that you don't need to have. Just like every page, like imagine, and then you could have like, imagine if you had in your house, like the big blue whale that's in, the Museum of Natural History in New York City. Imagine if you had, a ship in a bottle. Imagine if you had, a guitar that has 2 necks on the wall, whatever it is. Like, and so, and here's the thing, you reading the book, you don't even have to imagine it. We do the imagining for you. So,
Oh my God.
Yeah, so I feel like I forget why this came up, but the point is, you can talk about whatever you want, or you can talk about whatever we want you to talk about.
The shape of the book could be a conversation piece. I'm sure you covered that.
Absolutely, and now I do remember why I brought it up. It's because of if I came on stage without the cane and then started talking about the cane, the propless comedian. Imagine a Carrot Top that's like has an empty trunk that's just like
your cane's just your one prop is just rattling around in there.
Oh yeah,
that's it.
And you just look in and you're like, okay, so here's the next thing, everybody. You don't even have to worry about it.
Oh my goodness. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you for doing this.